In 1984, Nike was on the edge of collapse. Sales were falling, competitors were circling, and inside the company, even its own executives were starting to panic. The brand you see everywhere today? It was losing the race, badly, and then they made a decision so risky, so unconventional, it could have destroyed them for good. Or saved everything. To understand how close Nike came to disappearing, you have to go back before the swoosh meant anything at all. Before global dominance, before billion-dollar endorsements, there was just a track coach with an obsession. Phil Knight wasn't trying to build a fashion empire. He wanted better running shoes. That's it. In the 1960s, most athletic shoes were either cheap and ineffective, or high quality and painfully expensive. Knight saw a gap. Import high-quality shoes from Japan, sell them cheaper than the German giants. Simple idea. Brutal execution. He partnered with his former coach, Bill Bowerman. Together, they founded Blue Ribbon Sports. What most people don't know is, in the early days, Knight sold shoes out of the trunk of his car. No office, no brand recognition, no safety net, just belief. By the early 1970s, they rebranded to Nike, named after the Greek goddess of victory, and for a moment, victory seemed inevitable. Nike's sales exploded. Runners loved the innovation. The waffle sole, literally inspired by a kitchen waffle iron, changed everything. By 1980, Nike went public. Revenue crossed $270 million. They weren't just competing anymore, they were leading. But leadership in business is fragile. Because while Nike was dominating running, the world was changing, and Nike didn't see it coming. If you're drawn to stories like this, the moments where billion-dollar empires nearly collapse, this is exactly what BillionTrace is built for. Subscribe and you'll see the turning points most people never notice. Because the real story always hides beneath the success, and Nike's turning point was just beginning. Act 1, the rise. By the early 1980s, Nike had become synonymous with running, but that was the problem. They were too focused. While Nike dominated tracks and marathons, a new trend was exploding across America: aerobics. It sounds harmless now. But in the early 80s, it was a cultural wave. Millions of people, especially women, were flooding into fitness classes. Bright colors, music, movement. And one company saw it first: Reebok. What happened next shocked everyone. Reebok didn't chase runners, they chased lifestyle. They designed shoes specifically for aerobics: soft leather, clean look, fashion-forward. And suddenly, fitness wasn't just performance, it was identity. Nike didn't adapt fast enough. Their designs felt outdated, too aggressive, too technical. Meanwhile, Reebok surged. In 1984, Reebok's revenue jumped to over $300 million. Nike? They stalled. Market share slipped. Inventory piled up. And for the first time since going public, Nike was losing control. Inside the company, tension was rising. Executives were divided. Some wanted to double down on performance. Others argued for a complete shift into lifestyle. Phil Knight himself was under pressure. The company he built was drifting. And then came the most dangerous part of any decline: confusion. Because when a company doesn't know what it is anymore, every decision becomes a gamble. Nike tried to respond. They launched new products, expanded categories, but nothing stuck. Sales growth slowed dramatically, profit margins shrank, and internally, morale was cracking. People started asking the question no one wants to say out loud: are we losing? By 1984, Nike wasn't just struggling, they were vulnerable. And that's when the opportunity appeared. Not obvious, not safe, but potentially transformational. A young basketball player, unproven brand, uncertain future, and a deal. That didn't make sense. If you can feel that tension building, the sense that everything is about to either collapse or explode, tap like. Because this is the moment where most companies make their worst decisions, and Nike was about to make one that looked exactly like that. Act 2, the crisis. In 1984, Nike was not a basketball company. They were runners. Basketball belonged to Converse, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, established legends. Nike? They were outsiders, so when the opportunity came to sign Michael Jordan, it didn't look like a rescue plan. It looked like a risk, a big one. Jordan wasn't even in the NBA yet. He was a rookie, no proven track record at the professional level, and more importantly, he didn't want Nike. Jordan preferred Adidas. He respected Converse. Nike wasn't even on his radar. What most people don't know is Jordan almost didn't attend the meeting. He had to be convinced. Nike, desperate but strategic, made an aggressive move. Instead of offering a standard endorsement deal, they offered him something unheard of: his own brand, Air Jordan, plus royalties. This wasn't just a sponsorship, it was a bet on a person, a single athlete, carrying the future of the company. Internally, it was controversial. Why invest so heavily in basketball when the company was already struggling? Why risk millions on someone unproven? Because they had no safe options left. And sometimes, when survival is on the line, you don't choose the safe path, you choose the bold one. Nike signed Jordan for $500,000 a year, plus a percentage of every shoe sold. It was a massive commitment at the time. And then, the product launched, the Air Jordan 1, black and red, not compliant with NBA uniform rules. Jordan was fined $5,000 per game for wearing them. Nike paid the fines and turned it into marketing. Banned by the NBA. What could have been a setback became a story, a rebellion. And suddenly, people didn't just want the shoes, they wanted what the shoes represented: individuality, defiance, identity. In the first year alone, Air Jordan generated over $100 million in revenue. Let that sink in. A rookie, outperforming entire product lines. Nike didn't just recover, they pivoted from performance to culture, from athletes to icons. And the company that was losing relevance became the center of something bigger than sport. But here's the critical truth. At the moment they made that decision, they didn't know it would work. They couldn't. They were operating in uncertainty. And if Jordan had failed, Nike might not be here today. If this kind of high-stakes decision fascinates you, the moments where everything hinges on one move, watch $47 billion to near collapse, the WeWork scandal explained. It captures that same tension where risk and survival collide. But for now, stay here, because what Nike learned from this moment matters even more than the outcome. Act 3, the lesson. Nike's near collapse in 1984 wasn't just a business crisis. It was a turning point in how companies think. Because what saved them wasn't just signing Michael Jordan, it was how they thought about risk, identity, and timing. First, they understood that markets change faster than leaders expect. Nike dominated running, but the world moved to lifestyle and culture. They didn't lose because they were weak, they lost because they were late. Second, they bet on individuals, not categories. Instead of chasing trends blindly, they anchored their future to a person with potential, not guaranteed success. Potential. That distinction matters. Third, they turned constraints into leverage. The NBA ban could have killed the product. Instead, Nike made it the story. They didn't avoid controversy, they used it. Fourth, they acted before certainty. There was no data proving Jordan would succeed, no model predicting a $100 million outcome, just conviction and timing. And finally, they redefined what they were. Nike stopped being a running company and became a cultural brand. That shift didn't just save them, it built the foundation for everything that followed. Because in business, survival doesn't come from playing it safe. It comes from recognizing when the game has changed and having the courage to change with it. Nike's story didn't end in 1984. That was just the moment everything could have ended, but didn't. If you want to understand how fortunes are really built and how close they come to being lost, subscribe to BillionTrace. And watch the next story, because every billion has a story. We trace it.